8:22 on Friday, December 12th, 2008. Welcome to Good Morning Westchester on 1460 WVOX and WVOX.com. 40 degrees right now under cloudy skies. It's still raining. We expect the rain to taper off, but it has done its damage today. Indeed, it's felt like the news, or rather the traffic and weather, along with the radio show, but that's why we are here. Stay tuned for the traffic and weather every 15 minutes. Also, if we have any road closures that happen that are significant, we'll interrupt what we're doing and make sure that you know about them right here on 1460 WVOX. Another bit of news, for those of you who like to follow politics and care about what happens in York County, the Republicans will be fielding quite an impressive candidate this year as the district attorney position comes up for election. His name is Dan Schorr. He has been a teacher. He has been a district attorney, or an assistant district attorney. Very interesting guy. He will be running against Janet DeFiore, or whomever comes out of, assuming that there will be in the Democratic Party, assuming that there will be a primary, he will run against whomever that is. Please welcome to Good Morning Westchester. He wasn't around during the election. We were too busy with the people running this year, but he'll be around now. Please welcome Dan Schorr. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bob. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back. Welcome to the traffic program. It's quite. How was your trip over here?
It wasn't that bad. You know, I came from White Plains, so I didn't have to go through the roads that were closed, but I know it's a mess out there for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, fortunately, you're here, and I'm happy that you are. Now, you're an interesting guy on several levels, and of course, you're running for office, but since we have some time, I'd like the electorate to get to know you a little bit. Now, I know you've been an assistant district attorney. You're, of course, a lawyer now, but you've spent time overseas. Tell us about what you did over there.
Well, after being a prosecutor for a number of years, specializing in domestic violence and child abuse, I got the opportunity to teach over in China at a couple of universities over there. There were a number of programs where we trained Chinese judges and lawyers and law students about legal reform. China has a very different system than we have. It's a closed system. People don't have the same due process rights. And some people in the Chinese community are trying to change that and open up a little bit. They have a long way to go. And I was fortunate to have the opportunity to teach judges and lawyers there about the American system and about the rights and privileges that we have here.
Now, did you learn to speak Chinese?
I did. I'm not fluent, but I can survive traveling around in China.
How long were you an assistant district attorney or prosecutor?
About 7 years. I started in the Queens DA's office specializing in domestic violence, and I did homicide investigations, and then I worked in the Westchester DA's office in the Domestic Violence Bureau doing sex crimes and child abuse prosecution.
Now, I've spoken with you before, and I'm sure that doing homicides is interesting, but I always got the sense that the family matters, the child abuse cases, were near and dear to your heart. Am I right? And if so, why?
It is. When I first became a prosecutor, that's what I wanted to do. I started in the domestic violence unit in Queens, and then when I had the opportunity to work in the Westchester Domestic Violence Bureau, I started working here. There are a lot of issues in domestic violence prosecution that you don't have in other crimes. The victims are often repeat victims. They are trapped in sometimes a cycle of violence where they either are afraid to escape the abusive relationship, or maybe for financial reasons they feel bound to the abuser. So there are a lot more initiatives that you need to do with the victims in domestic violence prosecutions. There are a lot of things being done in other counties that I want to bring to Westchester County to help victims of domestic violence and child abuse.
Okay, so we have a man, and I know you went to school locally. Tell us about where you went to school.
I went to school at the University of Pennsylvania and then Harvard Law School, and I'm currently an adjunct professor of criminal law at Pace Law School.
Gee, no education here. All right, so you went to basically stayed in our region up in Harvard and UPenn, you said, right?
Right.
That's a great school. 8:26, we are talking with Dan Schorr. He will be running for district attorney on the Republican ticket come this November. Now, is that a done deal? I tell people that it is. You don't have to go for a primary. You are. They're not official nominee.
Well, I don't have any opposition. The nominees don't become official until in 2009, but I have no opposition.
Okay, the question I ask everyone who runs for elective office, you are an accomplished man with a great education, you care about children, domestic violence, the law, you teach the law, you practice the law. Why do you want to put yourself, A, through an election, B, through the slings and arrows that would follow you if you were Mother Teresa with a law book?
It's the particular job that I'm running for, which is District Attorney of Westchester County, which is an amazing position with opportunities to set the priorities of the District Attorney's office and repair relationships with the local police departments in order to better help the community and keep the people of Westchester safe. That I went to law school to become a prosecutor, and being district attorney here is an ability to really take it to the next level to help people.
Then tell me, why prosecution? Why take that tack? I'm not criticizing it. I'm trying to understand how you think.
I think there's two parts of it. The first part, you have the opportunity to put dangerous people in jail so that they can't prey on innocent people around Westchester. You also have the opportunity to clear wrongly accused people. You have more power as a prosecutor than a defense attorney would have to see if someone is wrongfully arrested and make sure that they are not prosecuted. So you have the ability to make sure the guilty are punished, and also to protect innocent people from being caught up in the system.
Now, as someone who is a Republican, I have to ask this. If I was out in radio, on the other side of this radio, I would be wondering, did you know Janet DiFiore before she switched parties?
I did very well. When she was a judge, I was a prosecutor in front of her, and I actually worked on her campaign 4 years ago in 2005. Like many other people who supported her, I thought that she was going to be a good prosecutor and run the office in a very different way than she has.
How do you interpret, A, her change of parties, B, the way she runs the office now?
There's a lot of mismanagement in the office, such things as the prosecution of Irma Marquez in Yonkers, the woman who was thrown down by a police officer in Yonkers on videotape and yet prosecuted by Janet DiFiore. You have other problems where the police don't have a good relationship with the district attorney. Why she switched parties? She ran as a Republican in 2005. She switched a year after she got elected. A year later, now she's seeking the Conservative Party nomination. So it seems like it might not be a sincere change in beliefs along party lines. It may be an opportunistic move to gain more votes. And the DA's office especially is not supposed to be political in that sense.
Well, what about yourself? What would characterize a district attorney's office managed by Daniel Schorr?
Right now, we have an assembly line process where some assistants handle the arraignments, some handle the grand jury, some handle trial. It's an old method of prosecution. I want to have one attorney work on a case from beginning to end. So they get to know the crime victim immediately. They get to work with the police. They understand the case. They could build it towards trial. I have a friend who was unfortunately a victim of a misdemeanor sex crime in Westchester. She told me she had to go through 4 different assistant district attorneys throughout the pendency of her case, retelling her story. It's traumatizing to the victim and it's inefficient. That's one of the major ways I want to change the office.
All right, Dan Schorr, we have to go, but thank you very much for being on the program. Hope you come back again soon.
I will, Bob, anytime.
Good luck to you. Dan Schorr, the Republican candidate for district attorney here in Westchester.